Hello, Houston. This is Catholic Lunch Break, the weekly program where we catch up with all things Catholic in the greater Houston area. Hope you're having a blessed Easter season. This is Wyatt Goolsby, the executive director of this radio station, AM 1430. We're also wishing you a happy week of the fourth Sunday of Easter. Of course, after Mass yesterday, we're all thinking about Christ as the Good Shepherd. April 21st was also an important day for World Day of Prayer for Vocations. So keeping in mind prayer as the center of all we do here on the Guadalupe Radio Network, let's begin this program with a prayer. If you join me in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. Remember, O most gracious Virgin Mary, that never was it known that anyone who fled to thy protection, implored thy help, or sought thine intercession was left unaided. Inspired by this confidence, I fly unto thee, O Virgin of Virgins, my Mother. To thee do I come. Before thee I stand, sinful and sorrowful. O Mother of the Word incarnate, despise not my petitions, but in thy mercy hear and answer me. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. Of course, it is another busy week ahead and a busy month. I had mentioned that yesterday was the World Day of Prayer for Vocations, so vocations has been on our mind here. Joining us here on the program is our super volunteer, Carol Herrera, and we've been talking about vocations to the priesthood specifically, Carol, because we had a very busy Friday with all of us here on AM 1430 with the broadcast of the annual Priests versus Seminarians basketball game.
I had so much fun. You're talking about Friday. We had the game with the priests versus seminarians, and it was just wonderful. It was at Tudor Stadium, Fieldhouse, I believe. That's how you call it, at Rice University. And it was talk about a good game. It was like watching a WNBA game. That's how great it was. So speaking of vocations, you hit it right on target, Wyatt. So and you were there, so you really enjoyed it too, didn't you?
There were a lot of people there. You know, the Tudor Fieldhouse at Rice University holds a little bit over 5,200 people, and the game itself sold out. I mean, it was packed, very loud. I've only been to 3 or 4 of these games. I think it may have been the busiest and most packed I think I've ever seen, at least.
Yes.
So we had a good crowd.
Not only that, the priests won. First of all, I would like to congratulate all the priests for winning that game on Friday. We needed a win. It's been 4 years since the priests have won a game. The seminaries have pretty much swept them every year.
Right.
So I'm glad there was a big turnaround, and I know a lot of people enjoyed it. I could hear it. There was so much energy in the house that day. I mean, the shouting, and it was just, and it's a fun rivalry kind of game. You know, we talked about that before, and it's just seeing the priests in a different light. You know, it was just a great time. And if you didn't go this year, you definitely want to make it next year. Okay.
Absolutely. It was so much fun. And, you know, I was talking with my colleague, Tim Mott, here on the program about how it really, it fosters a sense of humanity. It shows the humanity of the priests, because we often see them at Mass,
That's
right.
right.
Celebrating the Eucharist. And so we sort of see them at a little bit of a distance, but it's nice to see them as people, just like you and me.
In a different light. Yeah, it was. And you could tell how the people were really excited, to see their priests in a different light,
Right.
cheering them on and everything. And toward the end of the game, nobody left. I mean, a lot of people were staying, again, to congratulate their priests, to take pictures with them, because that's one thing you could do after the game. So it was a great game to be had. And again, if you didn't see it this year, maybe you can make it next year. But we also did broadcast it on the radio station. So I know some people were listening to that. And that's what, that was exciting as well.
Sure, absolutely. I want to give a credit, of course, like you mentioned, to the priests who won it. I think the final score was 47-35.
Oh, that's right. That's
they stormed back in the second.
Wyatt,
47-35. The priests ended up storming back, especially in that third quarter where they came from behind. And it was interesting because the MVP of this particular game was Father Joseph Wyatt from St. John Vianney. It's interesting because I actually had a chance to speak with Father Joseph back in March when he and the priests were practicing for this game. They were really going all out, and he actually had a chance to tell me a little bit about how the game fosters a sense of fraternity among the priests.
It was a lot of fun. It's a great event, a lot of people, a lot of energy, a lot of fun to see so many people from around the Archdiocese, good to play with the seminarians, brother priests. Fraternity in the priesthood for me is very, very important. I think it's important for all of us, and so a lot of us are close and good friends, and so it's great to be around brother priests. It's a good way to share common experiences, good things, have fun, have a brotherhood. It's really important in life, and especially in our life as priests, and so it's a great opportunity to be around our brother priests.
And of course, Father Joseph going on to say that, these priests don't necessarily, Carol, get to see each other all the time
No.
because they're all spread out across the greater Houston area.
You're right.
in different churches. And so it's always a treat for them and something special where they do get together as a group, which, like I
Yes.
said, just doesn't happen very often.
Yeah. I was really excited, and you could tell the priest did a lot of practicing.
Yes,
they trained for this game.
They did. They really wanted to win it. It's like you said, they hadn't won it the last 4 years. The seminarians had always come up on top
Yes,
as well.
there.
Very good.
Definitely.
Well, keeping in mind sports, we here at the Guadalupe Radio Network always promote Catholic education as well, and so that's why we regularly have a sports report. We want to go now to Corey with an update on this week's sports.
Hello, it's Corey the Sports Guy here, rolling out your Catholic high school sports report for the Houston area. So, let's start with boys baseball. The St. Pius X Panthers lost against the Central Catholic Buttons, the St. Thomas Eagles crushed the Antonian Prep Apaches, the Straight Jesuit Fighting Crusaders were defeated by the Pearland Oilers, and the O'Connell Buccaneers were destroyed by the Second Baptist Eagles. And now, girls softball. The Incarnate Word Falcons took the victory against the Incarnate Word Shamrocks. The Duchesne Sacred Heart Chargers were crushed by the Kincaid Falcons. The St. Pius X Panthers lost against the Antonian Prep Apaches. And the St. Agnes Tigers defeated the Concordia Lutheran Crusaders. That does it for this week's sports report for the week of April 15th. Keep your radio tuned to AM 1430 for next week's recap of Houston's Catholic sports. Now back to you, Wyatt.
Corey, thank you very much for that sports report. We really appreciate that. Tickets are available now for the first ever KSHJ Summer Speaker Series. Coming up on July 13th, we are going to have two very special guests here in the Houston area, Debbie Georgiani and Adam Bly. You know Debbie and Adam from the host of The Spirit World, the very popular program that's produced right here on the Guadalupe Radio Network. You can hear it on Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. Debbie and Adam are also helping with our morning show. It's called Morning Joy at 6 a.m. Well, we've had quite a bit of demand here in Houston to bring them here to be able to speak on the spirit world, all things angels, how the spiritual and physical world interact as well. So if you want to buy tickets to that, we're going to have a special speaker event as well as Q&A. So if you want to ask your questions on experts here about the Catholic faith and real Catholic theology, again, that's coming up on July 13th. We're going to have a really cool venue at the Lone Star Flight Museum. And so if you just head over to our website, we have the tickets available there. It's grnonline.com. You'll want to go to events, and we have something called the Summer Speaker Series. So, Carol, that's a very exciting time because I know that you, as our super volunteer, also work on the Spirit World, which again is on Saturday mornings. Been very successful ever since it debuted. You were telling me that you've enjoyed working with them and working on this program in particular.
Absolutely. It's been an incredible time. As you know, Tim Mott also is the producer of this show for the Spirit World, for Debbie and Adam. And I mean, it's just a joy to work on that show every Saturday. I work along with them as well as Libby and Lori, who are also volunteers here. They come in on Saturday mornings and take the calls. And we get calls from all over, the network and beyond. And we also monitor social media like Facebook and YouTube and other social media. And we've just gotten an incredible response from the people. They call it with all kinds of questions, Wyatt. And I'm so excited they're coming to Houston. So this way they can answer your questions in person. So you definitely want to try to make it out there. Also want to tell you that they answer all kinds of questions. I mean, we're talking the whole gamut. Questions on possession, spirits, angels, miracles, sightings, demonic activity, people asking for advice, and then people also calling to talk about personal experiences that they may have had. And so, again, like I mentioned, the whole gamut. So this is definitely a good time, and there is definitely an interest here for the Spirit World and all over the place. So hopefully this is just one of the many stops they're going to be making. As you know, they were in Dallas yesterday. And this weekend, and I heard it was a great response as well. So you definitely want to try to make it out. And you mentioned, again, in a couple of weeks, right?
Right. So they're going to be here in Houston on July 13th. And you're right, on Saturday they came to Dallas.
Okay.
And they did a Q&A, which was very successful. And you're right, people ask all sorts of questions. What I love about it is that Debbie and Adam break it down from a Catholic perspective. So it's trying to dispel myths, maybe what you might have seen in the movies about angels and demons. It's trying to get right at the root of the theology. And I think it helps people too because they have a better understanding of their own faith. How does coming closer to God in their own life, praying regularly to God, asking for the intercession of our blessed Mother Mary, how all of that helps them to overcome challenges and be able to kind of win that spiritual victory.
And you're right. Even just hearing the calls and hearing Debbie and Adam answer them, I've learned so much too. It's helped me to grow in my faith as well. And now to share the real truth about the different types of activity or things that are going on out there, because like she says, our Catholic faith is on attack, and there's so many spirits and things going on out there, rumors and discussions about the demonic activity, and just so many things that we personally don't understand, but they clarify things, and so you learn a lot. So this way you can share that as well, the truth behind some of this activity. Some you should not be participating in, and some you probably should be. So you're definitely going to learn something from this show. And to take it away and teach somebody else. So it's just a great thing. It's just a great thing, and I'm just so excited for them to be coming here, and I look forward to meeting them as well. We talked to them, on the phone and all, but seeing them in person and talking to them as well, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, like I said, there's been a demand to bring them here to Houston, so we're looking forward to welcoming them. I'm sure we're going to get a very good turnout. Like I mentioned before, it's July 13th, and it's going to be at the Lone Star Flight Museum, so it's a pretty cool venue
yes.
as well. So you can get your tickets now, again, online at grnonline.com. While we're also talking about things in the weeks and months ahead, of course, this upcoming weekend, the weekend of April 27th and the 28th, there are lots of festivals going on at various Catholic churches across the greater Houston area. There's so many to mention. We just want to mention a couple right here on Catholic Lunch Break, because otherwise, Carol, you and I could spend...
The whole show would be about festivals.
Yeah, we could spend a whole lot of time talking about that because there is a lot going on here in the greater Houston area. But want to mention two. The one I want to mention right now is over at St. Hyacinth Catholic Church. That's located in Deer Park, Texas. Their upcoming festival is this Sunday, but they're also going to have a bingo Saturday night, which is the 27th, starting at 6 o'clock. That's really important because St. Hyacinth has gone through a lot of challenges. Last year, in January of 2023, they were hit really hard by a storm, and it damaged a whole lot of their facilities. It actually damaged the roof of the church itself. A lot of the church itself has been repaired, but there's still a lot more construction of a new building that's going on there. So we want to continue to pray for their community there. Again, St. Hyacinth in Deer Park, but they haven't had a fall festival, Carol, since COVID as well. So this is their big one. So if you want to support a church that has been in need for a while, it's St. Hyacinth in Deer Park. You can also look them up and buy raffle tickets online. They're also asking for donations if people just want to give cakes or drinks or something like that to be able to have for their spring festival. But again, St. Hyacinth is going to be this Sunday, which is the 28th. So that's one that's going on.
Yes.
You also have one that's upcoming this Sunday as well.
Yes, speaking of festivals, Wyatt, I sure do. St. Jerome Catholic Church is having their spring festival Sunday, April 28th from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. There are going to be lots of games, a petting zoo, a marketplace, ladies and gentlemen, lots of food and a raffle. And Wyatt, the grand prize is $5,000, so I need to go buy my raffle tickets.
So it's like a Visa gift card?
Yes, a Visa gift card for $5,000. Thank you. There's going to be, again, food and lots of drinks and lots of live entertainment, for everyone to enjoy. So that's going to be Sunday, April 28th at St. Jerome's Catholic Church. And so if you haven't bought your raffle tickets, go buy them, go support them and St. Hyacinth Catholic Church because they're still recovering from that, and I'm sure they need your support as well as this church as well. So definitely you do want to make it out there. I hear this parish has a big party. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, they go all out at St. Jerome.
Out.
Yes,
spare no expense.
Yeah, well, we're happy to mention both St. Jerome as well as St. Hyacinth, both very nice communities, communities. So that's great. Thanks, Carol. We appreciate that. Wyatt. Of course, AM 1430 is a pro-life radio station. It's one of the many reasons we like to check in regularly with the only Catholic pro-life pregnancy center here in the greater Houston area. It's called Loving Choice. Now, typically, we talk with employees or volunteers, but today we are honored to be able to talk with a client, a woman searching for help and found some at Loving Choice. Joining us over the phone is Merri. Merri is a client of Loving Choice, and it's an honor to be able to talk with her. For the sake of her anonymity, we are just going to be referring to her as Merri, and we'll refrain from using her last name. Merri's joining us now over the phone. Merri, thanks so much for taking the time to join us here on Catholic Lunch Break. Tell me, where in the greater Houston area do you live?
Northside and Spring.
So tell me, when did you first hear about Loving Choice? How long has it been?
About a month, really.
Mm-hmm.
I just heard about it just driving up and down the road on Kirkendall.
So tell us a little bit about your story and how you came into Loving Choice.
So I recently found out that I was pregnant. Kind of didn't know what else to do. This isn't my first pregnancy. It's actually my fourth, but it just after some issues with my child's father, I kind of just needed some support. So I went in and they were able to point me in the right direction as far as like getting me the care that I needed for myself and my unborn child. I told them my story before. Like I said, this isn't my first pregnancy. I've had 3 previous kids before, and I did raise them, but I ended up giving them up for adoption just because being a single mom, it was super hard. And I had like no help at all. So, and I did, voice to them that I did actually want to parent this kid and do my best to keep this one because I felt like this was going to be the last one that I would be able to have. And, they understood where I was coming from and everything. So they made sure that they were able to help me as much as possible.
And how have they been helping you, Merri?
They've been pointing me in that direction, like as far as helping me apply for Medicaid, food stamps. They do provide counseling services as well, which is actually great. And one of the ladies that work there, she volunteers there. I've gotten to know her pretty well over the last few weeks and everything like that. She calls and checks up on me and everything like that. And so we kind of started building a friendship with that.
Merri, when you first found out you were pregnant now, this with your 4th child, were you scared?
Yes, definitely.
I appreciate your talking with us. I know this is not necessarily an easy subject to talk about, Merri. You saying before that you feel like you're heading at least in the right direction with getting some help with Loving Choice.
Yes, I do. Like I said, there are people there, and you can tell they actually care about the girls that come through there. Like I said, this one lady, she and I, we kind of started bonding, and she checks on me pretty much every week since I was last in there. So they treat you like family. I'll say that.
Yeah. Well, as you know, Merri, there are a lot of women that are out there in the greater Houston area that may be either in a similar situation to you, and they may also have come across that time when they're scared. Why would you encourage them to at least check out Loving Choice, at least go in there and talk with somebody?
I mean, I would encourage girls to check it out or a place like it, just because when you don't know, it is better to get some kind of input. Especially when it's not negative input. Nobody's there to judge you. Nobody is there to coerce you into making the decision that, might not be right for you or right for your baby. They're just there to listen and help you in the best way that they can.
One last question, Merri. You had made the decision earlier in your life to give your first three children up for adoption. Why do you think that was the right choice, and why do you think that those children are doing well because of that choice that you made?
So I made the decision because I was struggling, like I said, as a single mom, and it was hard. I didn't really have any family support nor financial support, and as a mom, one of the worst feelings is knowing you can't provide for your baby. And when you get to the point where you're wondering if or when they're going to eat or how you're going to be able to afford this or that for them, like, nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to see their child go through that. And I've watched 3 go through that, and I felt like I could provide all the love in the world for them, but I wasn't fit to take care of them. So I found a family through an adoption agency called AIM Adoptions. And this Christian household family, they took all 3 of my kids. And they love them as they were their own. I get pictures all the time. So I know that they're doing well. And I got to see them recently. And they are just thriving. The oldest, she is getting ready to start kindergarten soon. The middle one, he is just, he just talks so well now, and he's into art and everything. And then the little baby, she's just growing. She's talking now, and they all know who I am. So that makes me feel warm inside as well. And I just feel better knowing that I made the right decision for them because they are doing so much better.
Very good. Well, Merri, know that we're going to be praying for you here at the Guadalupe Radio Network. We'll be praying for your family as well as all the people that you come across at Loving Choice. I know that all of us here at the Guadalupe Radio Network appreciate it when mothers choose life, and especially in that case of adoption when it's not always easy. Merri, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
If you want to learn more about Loving Choice, their office is located in Spring. You can visit their website at loving-choice.org. Again, loving-choice.org. Coming up after the break, local Catholics looking for opportunities to grow spiritually have lots of opportunities. We'll talk about one program established by the Archdiocese to form clergy, religious, and the laity. You're listening to AM 1430.
Southeast Houston Cardiology is a proud sponsor of this Guadalupe Radio Network station and The Doctor is In with Dr. Ray Garendi. Southeast Houston Cardiology has been serving patients with heart disease and vascular disease with up-to-date, compassionate, and comprehensive care for more than 20 years. Southeast Houston Cardiology has 2 locations, Webster and Pasadena. You can contact them online at southeasthoustoncardiology.com or 281-338-4004.
Do you believe in miracles? I do, and I would love to tell you why. Hi, this is Dr. Dominic Aquila at the University of St. Thomas, inviting you to join me for an evening all about Eucharistic miracles. I'll be giving a free lecture on Wednesday, April 24th at 5:30 at Sacred Heart Catholic Church in Conroe, hosted by UST Max Studios. Learn all about God's overflowing love and goodness. That's April 24th at 5:30 p.m. at Sacred Heart in Conroe.
You are invited to St. Mary's Parish in City for their Grotto celebration, Sunday, April 28th. Mass is at 10 a.m., then celebrate with continuous entertainment, including live music and dancing, cakewalks, and games for the kids. Enjoy tasty homemade kolaches and sausage or barbecue dinners with beef, chicken, and more. And don't forget to buy your raffle tickets. So bring the whole family. That's St. Mary's Parish Grotto celebration in Sealy on Sunday, April 28th.
The Catholic Lunch Break is underwritten in part by Loving Choice Catholic Pregnancy Help Center. Guided by the Holy Spirit and the teachings of the Catholic Church, Loving Choice extends God's love in the form of emotional, educational, material, and spiritual support to parents and families as they embrace the challenges and the blessings for an unplanned pregnancy. Loving Choice is a place any woman can go for help and information when she is facing an unexpected, emotional, and possibly scary situation. She can take advantage of a free pregnancy test, they perform free ultrasounds, and the volunteers at Loving Choice will listen and provide compassionate options without judgment or pressure. You could be one of those volunteers. Find out more at loving-choice.org. Always make the loving choice.
Welcome back to Catholic Lunch Break, the weekly program where we catch up with all things Catholic in the greater Houston area. You're listening to AM 1430. This is Wyatt Goolsby, the executive director of this radio station, KSHJ. If you or someone you know is looking for some spiritual development in the months ahead, a local organization called Emmaus Spirituality Center has lots of programs scheduled for 2024. Joining us now here in the studio to talk more about Emmaus Spirituality Center is Kathleen Messina. She is the director of the Spiritual Direction Institute, which is there at Emmaus Spirituality Center. Kathleen, thanks so much for joining us. Tell us, first off, for people who are not familiar with Emmaus Spirituality Center, what exactly is this organization?
Well, first of all, good afternoon, Wyatt. It's so good to be with you today, so thank you for having me.
Sure.
The Emmaus Spirituality Center came into existence, it will be 4 years ago, just next month, the 1st of June. Actually, we're almost into May. Mm-hmm. And it was created when the Senecal sisters, who had been here in the Houston area for over 60 years, had reached a point where it was time for them to turn their ministries over to lay leadership. And so at that time, the Emmaus Spirituality Center was formed. And so we continue the work of the Senecal sisters there. And that includes things with programming for those who are, on the spiritual journey and want to learn about a particular thing. Mm-hmm. Some are on, I'm trying to think of a recent program.
But it really delves deeper into the spirituality,
yes,
people's relationship with God.
Yes. So, for example, one recent program was Success for Living. Now, that may sound like a kind of secular thing, but it was definitely completely rooted in the faith. We have Dr. Michael Fonseca coming from the Victoria Diocese this weekend, actually, on Saturday, to give a program. I believe it's called Diving into the Deep. Again, so really looking forward. It's the first time he's a presenter there. We've also had Joan McGovern, who's a very well-known presenter from New York, who does it via Zoom. So it's great that we have the technology to bring in recognized speakers to meet the interests of those who are really seeking to grow in their spiritual life.
Very good. That's excellent. Well, like I said, lots of those programs that are upcoming, like you said, not only this weekend, but also a number of activities going on in May as well. Tell me, Kathleen, specifically about Spiritual Direction Institute. What is that?
Yes. Well, the Spiritual Direction Institute is in its 38th year, and it is a program that forms religious, clergy, the laity in the ministry of spiritual direction. So it is a 3-year formation program. And the students meet from September to May, one time a week. So they come once a week for 3 hours during the school year. And they receive, well, first of all, let me just say it's primarily a formation program.
Okay.
So that's important to differentiate from a skills program or something that you can just get in online and take a couple classes. We really believe that a good part of the formation is the change that occurs within the individuals themselves. They come with a call. They come with a call to that ministry, and it comes from a variety of ways. It may be someone noticed that people gravitate to them for spiritual help, or it may be that they themselves have been in spiritual direction for a very long time and now feel that they want to give back. But anyway, people receive the call, as you know, for most ministry in a variety of ways. And during those 3 years, they are trained well, first of all, they pray all the time. That's the first thing. Can we form people?
Okay. So it's rooted in prayer.
Right. Very rooted in prayer. So each session begins with a half hour of prayer and faith sharing. They're also taught different forms of prayer, and they practice prayer. They learn about prayer. They're also really, they learn about the tradition of the Catholic faith. They spend a lot of time going through the history of the church and of spiritual direction in the church and of the mystical tradition. And so there's a very large part of year 2 devoted to that. Mm-hmm. They take theology, many sessions devoted to theology. So in the beginning, they learn about Christian anthropology and Christology. I just finished Theology of Ministry with our Year 3 students. Earlier, I did the Theology of Suffering with them, topics that are really part of the everyday life and struggle of those who are desiring to follow Christ in their lives. So important things. They learn the skills associated with doing spiritual direction. And of course, a lot of this is coming to deeper awareness, both as someone who's receiving spiritual direction and those who are offering it. We have to have really a really good self-awareness and attentiveness to God's presence in their lives and who they are, what their desires are. So those are, I would say, off the top of my head, are the main topics that we cover in their formation.
Okay, very good. So this Spiritual Direction Institute, as you said, it's a 3-year program, and it's backed by the Archdiocese. And
it was formed by the Archdiocese, yeah. It was created by the Archdiocese back, in 1985. And then the Senecal Sisters took it over, and it continues at Emmaus.
Okay, and so, again, this particular program is also, again, open to anybody, whether they're clergy or layperson.
Right, or religious.
Or any of the above. So it's open to all of those people. I guess my question then, Kathleen, is when you have different people from different backgrounds that participate in this, they want to grow in their faith, they want to understand the traditions of the Catholic Church better. What do you think are some of the big challenges that they might face just as an everyday Catholic wanting to live their faith out every day? Are there distractions in the day-to-day life? What do you think it is?
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, our world is full of distractions. We're constantly bombarded by media, by so many voices. And so if I think back to, say, to St. Teresa of Avila and John of the Cross, and certainly St. Ignatius, we know that that it is so important that a spiritual director be a person of experience, right? Right? Someone who is knowledgeable about the faith and about what it means to be human, right? And that they also have the gift of discernment. Because if you bring that to, this morning I had a conversation. I was at the dentist, I told you. And so at the dentist, the hygienist, it wasn't the hygienist, but the assistant who was working on me, she said, well, you're all dressed up. And I said, yeah, I'm going to be on the radio. And so I told her what it's about. And she said to me, oh, I've just gotten back into the Word. When I was a teenager, I got away from the faith. And now I'm kind of, wondering, well, accompaniment in that journey is invaluable. Someone who has traveled and journeyed, on that path can help that person or anyone like her in any place where you find yourself to go more deeply, to actually discern what is God's call in a moment, to recognize those invitations. I have a senior in high school grandson, actually 2. And one was talking to me last night and about trying to make his decisions about where he's going to go. We face decisions and encounters with people, all of which God's present in all of that. And so how do we, decide where do we get our direction? We want to follow Christ. We want to do God's will for us and in our lives and for the world. And so it's just helpful to have someone to run those things by, to meet with once a month, to do a check-in about, am I hearing correctly? Am I following? Am I doing the most loving things that I can?
I love that. I love how also just being able to go to the dentist for a checkup, you can talk about your faith. It's
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
It's a great way, of course, to evangelize in a sense as well, just simply being there.
I think so. You're right.
It's amazing. If you're just now listening here on the radio, this is AM 1430, Catholic Lunch Break. We're talking with Kathleen Messina about Emmaus Spirituality Center and, of course, all sorts of programs and the challenge of discernment as well. Because, Kathleen, I think for all of us, discernment can be difficult no matter where we are in life because we want to follow God, we want to listen to God's will. But, like I said, there are challenges out there. It's trying to figure out what exactly is God's will. What is the best piece of advice that you have for people who are really trying to discern? Maybe they attend or are part of the Spiritual Direction Institute. They come to Emmaus Spirituality Center, but they might feel lost in a sense. They know they want to follow God, but they just don't know where to begin.
Well, in addition, of course, to seeking out accompaniment from a spiritual director, I think one of the things that it's wise to remember, really important for us to remember, that our desires matter. What I desire for my life is, first of all, to be united with God. I might not call it that. I might not recognize that. But don't be afraid of my desires because they can ultimately lead them right to where I really want to be, because nothing else will satisfy me until I'm actually with the Lord and living in accordance to his will. So I encourage people not to censor emotions. Don't censor feelings. Those things are gifts from God. But then to sort through them and see which of those are leading me toward the good and which of those leave me unsatisfied or a quick fix. There's a lot of quick fixes out there, right? But God is in eternity. And so to really pay attention to yourself, run it by someone, have a trusted other, because we're also, somewhat subject to self-deception. And so it's important to have someone that you can trust to be honest with and reflect with together.
And it provides a level of accountability, which I think we all need. Whether we want to admit it or not, we as human beings can falter. And so we need that help from somebody else, just to be able to talk to, like you said, in some cases, just be able to chit-chat about the struggles. Kathleen, tell me, how long have you been with Emmaus Spirituality Center now?
Well, I've been an instructor there for at least 7 years. Let me add this up. 7 years before I became the director of the Spiritual Direction Institute. Okay. And I've been the director now for 4 years. I went through the program actually myself in 2009. And then also got a master's degree from Fordham University in New York and at their Graduate School of Religion. So I've been associated with it and been so privileged, quite frankly, when I was invited, first of all, to be an instructor and then a supervisor at the Spiritual Direction Institute. And
of course, we've been talking about how y'all's program helps others, whether they be religious, clergy, or just lay folks who participate in the Spiritual Direction Institute or come to a program at Emmaus Spirituality Center. But I guess also there's the element of you yourself who participate in this, who help others for you to grow spiritually as well. Kathleen, in your time at Emmaus Spirituality Center, how do you think you've grown closer to God?
Well, I know, for example, that I've remained in spiritual direction myself and always will. And so that's been a great help to me. And also, I'm in my 70s now. And in the living of everyday life, we encounter things that we didn't anticipate. And some of those struggles, some of those losses, they're actually, and some great loves, they're actually what has opened God to me, because I have a language, right, for my experience. And increasingly, as I participate in trying to form these students, I'm constantly studying, and I get so much in return from that effort, recognizing in the students' lives and in their journeys, or in my directees' lives, because I also see directees at St. Angela Merici Catholic Church, which is my parish. And so it is, well, I'll tell you, driving over here, I put on the Christian music, right? I was listening to Christian music. And I just delighted in the fact that hearing us lift up our voices to the Lord just gives me joy. And that's our Christian journey. No matter what's going on, that it lifts us up. Not knowing what tomorrow brings, not knowing, how today's actually going to go, but just feeling loved and secure in the Lord. I think I feel more connected to that than I ever have in my whole life.
Tell me about just some of the testimony that you've got from people who have gone through the whole Spiritual Direction Institute. As you mentioned, this is a program that's 3 years, originally formed by the Archdiocese. Y'all have taken that over and helped to lead people to that. When people complete that 3-year program, whatever their background may be initially, what are the benefits to them moving forward? What do they tend to do with all of that knowledge and development and information that they get to that program?
Most of our students, of course, return to the parish that sponsored them. And they serve in the ministry of spiritual direction at their parishes. And that's a great benefit throughout the Archdiocese to have the availability of spiritual directors on site. So it's convenient for people to go. It's also a great witness in any parish to have people who are recognizably dedicated to their faith journey in a serious way, whether or not these others seek spiritual direction or not. So that's wonderful. But they also provide they do days of reflection or lead days of retreat at parishes. I have the spiritual directors at St. Angela's taking care of the Mystagogia part of RCIA at our parish. They lead grief groups. They've acquired a depth, first of all, of really what does the church teach here, against which to hear the stories of others, right? So that it's not as mixed up. There's a lot of common, thinking in the world, and I'm thinking now of the grief groups, where there are things that are just not part of our tradition. And so to help listen and then hold as normative, what is important and to help people in their journeys. And so spiritual directors in each of those things continue, just as I have, to grow through the experience of offering. And so they're growing themselves and they're creating a great benefit to each of their parishes.
Yeah, I love hearing about how this program in particular delves into the traditions of the faith. We have 2,000 years of the Catholic Church, and there's so much rich tradition. I hear you, Kathleen, when you say sometimes we lack the vocabulary to be able to describe some of our spiritual experiences. Luckily, we can go back and look at the saints and try to draw from the way that they grew closer to God.
Right.
Because sometimes they have some words that you and I lack just to describe the awesomeness, what is true, beautiful, and good about God. So it's absolutely delightful to hear about that, and delightful to hear that basically people can take that development, take that information or take that spiritual development, information about the Catholic Church, grow in their faith, and be able to bring it out to their parishes, because then it manifests in so many different ways.
Right. That's right.
Tell me again, how you said you've been the director of this for now 4 years?
That's right.
Okay, very good. So if people want to sign up, or if people at least want to learn more about the program, my understanding is that you're now accepting applications, and it starts in the fall?
Right. Starts right after Labor Day in the fall.
Okay.
Classes for the year one incoming group will be on Friday mornings from 9 to noon, and they can find the application if they go to the Emmaus